So, today I want to talk about water main breaks and climate change. I think it's safe to say that at the very least in the United States and Canada, it's been rather hot the past week or two, pretty much no matter where you are. In fact, last week, ground temperatures in parts of the Pacific Northwest reached as high as 145 degrees Fahrenheit or 63 degrees Celsius. And that's not even factoring in air temperatures that were over 100 degrees Fahrenheit in areas that are not used to triple digit temperatures. These higher than average temperatures are becoming a new normal as climate change continues to manifest in new and different ways. And one of the things that we should really be taking into account and considering with this new movement of climate change is how our infrastructure is affected. Things like wildfires, electrical grid changes, and drought are certainly having an impact on people's lives. In fact, the heat is revealing a lot of issues with our current systems and exacerbating things that already exist. And today I want to talk about one such issue surrounding water and piping. Water main breaks are commonly associated with the winter. Frigid temperatures usually have a pretty brutal impact on piping and can cause pipes to burst at their seams. We've seen this in the past winter where brutally frigid temperatures in Texas that were not normal caused a lot of significant damage. But it needs to be noted that summer can actually have a major impact on pipes as well. We see that during the summer, water usage peaks where people are watering lawns, having swimming pools filled, and attempting to stay hydrated. That extra usage follows a period when those pipes were taxed handling runoff and melting from winter snowstorms. The harsh winter also causes excessive freeze thaw cycles on the ground, which is a natural enemy to aging water pipes found throughout the country. Now, this is focused on one particular area of the North Shore of Massachusetts, but this could be applicable to pretty much the entirety of the United States. But we can't entirely blame winter. One theory suggests that the recent run of dry weather may be at fault, or at the very least a contributing factor. As the ground gets parched, it contracts and pulls away from pipes encased within it. That's another possibility, causing shifting pipes to lead to water main breaks. Such breaks cause what are known as split breaks, which run along the length of the pipe rather than across it. Those breaks can cause more damage and be often harder to repair, which may suggest why certain breaks are taking more than 8 hours and up to 48 hours in certain locations to fix. Now, what this means is that the shift in the climate might be in some ways contributing to water mains, which already are very old in many places, breaking more often. This is, of course, due to the higher fluctuation of temperatures, as extreme temperatures, both in the cold direction and in the warm direction, can in fact cause pipes to get damaged via expansion and contraction of the pipes themselves, as well as the soil around it. Further, the increase in drought conditions, especially during the summer months, can cause soil to become dry, eroded, and crack, which can allow the pipes to start shifting, as we just read. Now, add this to the increase in water that's being used for hydration, maintaining vegetation, and any of the other ways that we attempt to use it, and you have pretty much a recipe for disaster in terms of water mains breaking. All you have to do is Google water main breaks, and you'll find the countless stories that are out there. Now, when we look at this, and I will show two such stories in a moment, we have to take into account that if we have higher temperatures than average in certain locations, especially with certain parts of the country getting extremely high ground temperatures, that this might be having a greater or more significant impact on the piping involved. Now, we get stories like this, and it's really easy to find them across the internet. Water main break shuts down part of 21st Street, and this is in one particular location, right? In Topeka. We go to another one in St. Louis, where another instance of the heat caused the soil in the pipes to swell and shrink and can lead to a break. And we find them no matter where we look. These articles are, in fact, countless. Again, if you look at the news part of Google, you can just find a listing of them from location to location. Now, to make this particular fact a little more concerning, it should also be noted that not all leaks appear above ground or are obviously noticeable. Some require technology to detect, and we have to note that when water lines break, we're wasting water. In fact, a 3/4 inch service line leak can lose up to 15,000 gallons of water. A 6-inch main break can cause 30 to 156,000 gallons, and a larger 16-inch break can cause between 52,000 and over a million gallons of water. That is an absurd amount to be wasting and losing off of these leaks. And in a world where drinkable water is becoming more scarce and it's being sold as a commodity on the futures exchange, this is part of a larger issue of maintaining water supplies and trying to reverse that process. We need to start coming up with ways to put money into infrastructure to stop this. And this doesn't even take into account the other impacts that this might be causing. Another issue to consider is that if a water main breaks, and this occurs frequently enough, while certainly not all, many of these breaks can cause boil water conditions to be established for communities and for people because of increased amounts of bacteria in the water supply. And again, we can see tons of these stories if you just look for them on the internet. We have in Saratoga Springs, a water main break triggered a boil water advisory for the entire city Thursday night that remained in effect heading into the holiday weekend, sending businesses scrambling to adapt. The problem emerged on Thursday around 3 a.m. when staff at the water treatment plant became aware of a considerable loss of water by the city's reservoir. Now, if you have a decrease in the city's reservoir like that, that can again exacerbate drought conditions and cause people to have more problems. And this can cycle and spin out on itself very easily. Department of Public Works Utilities Department workers subsequently discovered a break in the 16-inch water main running below Green Street from the treatment plant. Utility crews dug into the road and found a horizontal crack in the main that required replacing 10 feet of pipe. The boil water order remained in effect throughout Friday and was expected to remain in place for at least another day. The order can only be lifted by the state health department after 2 consecutive days of satisfactory bacteriological water sample results. Now we come to another one, which is in Ann Arbor, where we have water used for pets and things like brushing teeth, washing foods, and making ice needs to be boiled. The water should be boiled for at least a minute and allowed to cool in a covered container. They also caused road closures, which of course is affecting other parts of things. And then we have the city of Valdosta, Georgia, which has a boiled water advisory due to a 12-inch water main break. There's a potential health hazard that may exist due to microbial contamination in these areas without positive pressure. And when we look at that, this can have a lot of different impacts, from economic to healthcare to a number of other things, like just making daily life harder for people who are already having hard lives. Now, if these boil water notices become consistent in an area, it's also worth noting that it may cause people to go out and buy bottled water. And this can only make things worse in the long run, as the long-term environmental impacts of plastics, as well as the funding of companies who are literally stealing other areas' water supplies to bring them to these locations, could have long-term significant impacts as well. And the bacterial situation is also relevant because we know that warmer temperatures tend to bring about increased levels of certain bacteria in water. As we are aware that certain swimming locations, both within Canada and the United States, have been shut down due to extremely high levels of bacteria. We have here that Albro Lake Beach is closed due to swimming due to high levels of bacteria. Preliminary testing shows bacteria levels in water exceed Health Canada guidelines. We know that the high levels of bacteria can be caused by a number of factors, including dogs, wildlife, and high temperatures. City staff will continue testing the water until bacteria levels are safe, and will update residents when the beach reopens. We have here that a pond in Boise, Idaho, had another issue with an E. coli outbreak. The test results follow days of high use of the ponds as triple-digit temperatures in the Treasure Valley had occurred. The city will continue to treat areas of the ponds that have high level of bacteria in the coming days. So it needs to be noted that there is sort of a correlation here, where the heat could actually be causing these elevated levels of bacteria in the pipes as well. So it could have further create dangerous impacts on people who are in boil water notices when these water main breaks erupt. And while we don't know the full impact that heat is having on everything, and heat should only be considered one of the factors involved in all of this, it to me seems pretty evident that the elevated heat levels is affecting water, at the very least by causing more damage to the pipes than are already existing in pre-climate change conditions, as well as creating the conditions for higher levels of bacteria. And again, as this is only one factor of climate change as a whole, the fluctuation of the temperatures, the damage of the soil, most assuredly is having some sort of impact on these water mains bursting. The burst pipes lead to these conditions where bacteria might be spreading into water supplies in higher values and numbers, which can also lead to impacts on the environment through people needing to buy more water through, bottled water and plastics. All of this is something that I would ideally like to see looked into and examined more in the near future, and I want to see full studies from independent sources as well as the EPA. At the very least, it shows us that when climate changes, even slightly, the current infrastructure and the current realities that we live in and the social systems that we live in could be challenged in new ways, or very least in old ways that will exacerbate old problems. So with that said, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and bell for notifications. You can follow me on Twitter and check out my Discord in the description down below. My name is Anarchist Tara, and I thank you for watching.